Hey, my name is Damon Morehouse. Welcome to At the Seams, the channel where we talk baseball, mostly Yankees baseball. So today we're going to be discussing some of the coming free agents for the New York Yankees. We're going to kind of talk about whether I think they should come back, the Yankees should bring them back, or we should let them walk for maybe somebody else. All right, so the first guy I want to talk about is Cody Bellinger. He's our biggest free agent. You know, the guy that's probably going to get a lot of money. He had a $25 million option that he declined, so he opted out of his deal, which we all assumed he would. So no surprises there. 2025 Bellinger hit 29 homers, 98 RBIs. He batted .272 with an .814 OPS. So he had a good season. He had a really good season, especially, looking at the fact that the beginning of the season was not good. He was batting under 200 for, a month and a half. But he turned it around, and he turned it around good, and he had a great season. So with him, I think it would be nice to bring him back. Cody Bellinger, I think out of everyone on this list, is the one that I would want the most. He can play good defense. He hits home runs. He gets on base. It's not like he's hitting 30 home runs and he's batting .230. Like, we don't need that. He's batting .270. This guy, he hits lefties well, and he can hit righties too. And I think that's important when you can hit both sides of the ball without being switch hitter. He's estimated to get anywhere from 25 to 30 a year. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but more of the reason I see him, why he opted out, was he probably wanted more of a long-term deal. So I think the Yankees could give him that. I think they should. He was a big part of why this team were at where they were. He was all right in the playoffs. He had a home run, but he only batted like .210. So, but he's never really been a playoff hitter, which is a problem. It's a problem because we do need playoff hitters. We do need guys that can come through in the playoffs. And Aaron Judge hadn't been a playoff hitter, but he really stepped up. So the point I'm making is I think Cody Bellinger should come back. And, Kyle Tucker is nice. Kyle Tucker, if we have the money to sign him and Tucker, then I would 100% do that. I would be 100% down for that. We could put Tucker at DH. I've got a lineup idea for the team involving Spencer Jones, but we'll talk about that a little more now that we're going to talk about Trent Grisham. Trent Grisham, he was never a good player. He rarely batted over 200. He had some power to him, but struck out a lot. He had 34 home runs this year, which is a career high by about, I think he had 17 or 18 before this. He batted .235 with an .812 OPS. I say let him walk. So my idea for what the Yankees team could look like next year. The problem is Jason Dominguez is not, he should be traded. And I'm not saying I don't like Jason Dominguez, but just what I see as the New York Yankees lineup next year, I don't think Jason Dominguez, is in it. I don't think he's in it, and I don't know. He's young, but the way the Yankees play is they try to go out and spend a lot of money, and I just think I think they trust Spencer Jones more. I think Spencer Jones is going to be a starting outfielder, possibly, and that's why I bring up Kyle Tucker, because they could sign Kyle Tucker as a designated hitter. We know Stanton is old. We know he's probably not going to play a lot of games. But you have DHing, say Stanton's healthy. You have against righties, he won't play against righties. You'll have Tucker at DH, Jones, Bellinger, and Judge in the outfield. And then against lefties, you can have Stanton DHing, and then you'll have Bellinger, Kyle Tucker will go into the outfield, and Aaron Judge. I just don't see a world where signing Trent Grisham is a right decision. I do not believe he's ever going to have a season again like he did this year. I just don't, and we don't need another .230 hitter. That's a big problem with this team every year is they don't have guys that can get on base consistently. And a 235 hitter is not going to do it. This team is too based around home runs, and then when it comes down to these games in the playoffs, they don't hit the home runs. We had Judge with one, but like throughout that whole series, they couldn't get the ball over the fence, and that was the biggest problem. Is they're built around the home run ball, but for most of the playoffs, they weren't hitting home runs. Next we got Devin Williams. He had a 4.79 ERA with 90 strikeouts over the course of the season. He was interesting because you look at that and you're like, okay, this guy sucked. No. Devin Williams had a very rough start, and in his 4 postseason appearances, he didn't give up a run, and in the last 7 of the regular season, he didn't give up a run either. I think he just needed to find himself. He also, over the course of the season, he only gave up 5 home runs. So even when he was struggling, he wasn't giving up the long ball, which is always, you look at it and you're like, okay, well, that's inspiring. Maybe he can turn it around, and that's what he did. I think bringing him back would be awesome. Him and Bednar are a very good duo, and I think if they have those two for a full season, they could win 97 games, I think. As long as they approach their lineup right and they make a smart offseason decisions, I think they could win 98 games next year. So I say bring him back. He was good. I think the way the bullpen is looking next year, we really don't know. Is Jake Bird going to come back up? Yerry De Los Santos, is he going to come back up? Who is going to... What is this bullpen going to look like next year? Next, I got Luke Weaver. 3.62 ERA, 72 strikeouts. He got hurt, but after he got hurt, he was just not the same pitcher. And I know, I think about this all the time. He was nothing before he came to the Yankees, and I'm just wondering, did the league just figure him out? Same thing happened kind of with Nestor Cortez at the end of his Yankees career. He just kind of wasn't that good anymore. It just, they find these guys, they find these gems, and they do good for a year or two. And then they just, the league figures them out, or just something goes wrong, and then it just doesn't work out. And that's the problem sometimes with these players is a lot of times with the Yankees, and I think Trent Grisham is probably going to fall down this hole too, is they're just not going to play like this again. He had a 7.11 ERA in his last 15 games of the regular season. And, in a small sample size, he had an 135 ERA in the playoffs. That's not okay. Something needs to change, and I don't think Luke Weaver is going to be part of the team next year. Paul Goldschmidt. He had 10 homers, 45 ribbies, batted .274 with a 731 OPS. There was, time of the season at the beginning when he was batting 380. But I think they started to go with Ben Rice a little more, which I don't hate. Ben Rice is a good hitter. But I just don't know that bringing him back is the right choice. He's 38 years old. He's not really going to play, especially if they go out and get either Pete Alonso or Munetaka Murakami. If they get either of those two players, Paul Goldschmidt's not really going to have a role on this team. I mean, that being said, I love him, and I think, I wish only the best for Paul Goldschmidt, but he's not young, so giving a contract to him could be a bit of a risk. Ryan Yarbrough. He had a few good starts, but they don't really need starters. Because you think about going into next year, we got Cole, Fried, Rodon, Schlittler, and Luis Gil. Those are my 5 guys. Those are the guys that I look at and say, yeah, those are the 5 best pitchers on this team, and that's pretty clear for me. But, it's never going to happen when the Yankees go full season. All 5 pitchers will stay healthy. It's not going to happen for anyone, really. And we have Will Warren, Clark Schmidt when he comes back, which possibly could go into the rotation, but I think I'm still sticking with Luis Gil, depending on how he's pitching when Schmidt comes back. So Yarbrough isn't really somebody that I see coming back to this team, unless, of course, they give him maybe $2 million on a 1-year deal to, like, kind of be front-end reliever. But look, they still have Doval. They still have Bednar. And if they re-sign Williams, they'll have him. Tim Hill, they should pick up his option. He's got an option. He's not technically a free agent unless the team doesn't pick up his option, which I think they should, and I think they will, because he's one of the only good lefty relievers on the team. But Yarborough, I don't think he's going to be on the team next year. Now, utility man, Ahmed Rosario. Now, I've been thinking about this one a lot. He's got 6 homers, 23 RBIs, 276, and a 745 OPS. He batted .303 in a stint with the Yankees, which he didn't get a lot of playing time. But what I think is, if Oswaldo Cabrera comes back next year, and I know how much we all Yankees fans love him, he's not a starter. I mean, I don't really look at him as a guy that's going to start. I'd rather have Jose Caballero with all of his stolen bases, and, you know, I think he's better. Ahmed Rosario, is he, you know, he had a couple big hits in the playoffs. He bet really good with the Yankees. I would love to have him back, but is it in the cards? Can we have him back? Is he going to have a spot? Which I look at and I say, I don't know. If they sign Murakami or they sign Pete Alonso, is this guy going to have a spot on the team? I think we could make a spot for him. I think he's a good hitter. You know, he bats .300. That's what we need. We need a hitter that can consistently get hits and get on base, especially, you know, against a lefty pitcher. You bring him in, he's probably going to get a hit for you. He's you know, same thing, and that's why we really need Caballero, is because this team is slow. This team does not steal a lot of bases, and Jose Caballero is a base stealer. He is going to run. So I don't know what next year looks like for Oswaldo Cabrera. Is he going to start at shortstop? Probably not. He won't start at third. I just don't know what, you know, Ahmed Rosario's role would be if he were to come back to the New York Yankees. All right, thank you for watching. You know, leave a comment, like the video, subscribe if you want to see some more of the content. Tomorrow we're going to be dropping I think I'm going to give you 5 Yankees with 5 players, which I think the Yankees should go out and sign this offseason instead of maybe some of these guys that I talked about today. Thank you for watching.